I in my book stands for inspiration. Everyone's driven by internal components of hope, joy. And I just felt that putting this I in front of it gives us the opportunity to go ahead and not only help ourselves, but really focus on our audience and helping young people make those decisions by having inspiration to inspire them to move forward with making quality decisions.
And what about your audience? Who's your audience you're looking for?
My overall audience is all people that need inspiration, but I really like to focus on young people. Those ages kind of 13 to 30 years old, going into that young adulthood, and then really understanding that their choices today can really affect their future.
Talk to us about the mission of this book. What are you trying to convey in this book?
What I really want to convey is that, is to deliver, deliver a promise. We all make promises to people, but I made a promise to my mother, is to finish the book. Next thing is to really look at how you can, use the book to say, hey, there's things that I'm designed to do. There's a purpose that I have. And then the last thing is to really look and see how you can take that mission and how we can take this book in order to help people. So I call it my 3 Ps. You have a promise, you have a purpose, and you have a desire to continue to help people.
When I look at the cover of the book, why did you select the cover of the book the way it is?
Well, it's unique, but simple. I believe that all of us are God's children. It's a color of royalty, and He died for us. So that color just symbolizes how we can live our lives, how we can thank God for our lives, and really appreciate and show that we're also royalty.
Now, what inspired the writing style, the short chapters, the short lessons? Why did you choose that format?
Well, we live in a quick, this quick lifestyle now, and people want things now. People want things quick. We call it the microwave generation. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to place them in a form that people can not only relate to, but take these short, what you call golden nuggets to say, can this help me? When can this help me? How can this help me? Where can this help me? And most importantly, how we can put it in our lives to go ahead and make it work for us.
If you had to select one chapter in this book, if someone said, key on this chapter, what chapter would that be? And explain the chapter to us.
Okay, well, it's twofold. It's called the Inspirational Alphabet. And the reason why it's Inspirational Alphabet, because everybody knows their ABCs, right? So it's as simple as ABC. That's what the Inspirational Alphabet is. What I did was I looked in inspiration in 2 fundamental components. I said, look, let's find a letter, for example, A. And then let's tie in an inspirational component or phrase that can help a person to really look and see what their names truly mean. For example, the A in the inspirational alphabet stands for amazing, okay? Now what I did was I said, you take these components and you say, how could I spell my name? So each one of these particular letters has a inspirational quote as well as a defined letter of inspiration or defined moment. So now what you can do is you can spell your name. You can spell Reginald. For example, Reginald stands for righteous. Okay, the E stands for energetic. The G stands for grace. The I stands for, intentional. The N stands for now. The A stands for having an attitude of amazement. And then the L stands for love. And the D stands for discipline. So if you put all those components together, you design your own unique mission statement. So it's all about tying those letters together, tying in the inspiration, and come up with your true essence of who you are, which is the power of your name.
That's pretty interesting. But how would you define success, Reggie? A lot of people define success in various ways. How would you define success?
I believe, success can be found in many ways. When I grew up, at first I thought it was athletics. Played sports, University of Notre Dame. Then you start saying, I want to be successful academically. Then you start saying, I want to be successful in business. But I define success as it's very simple, to do what you want, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it.
If somebody to ask you, what is your philosophy of life? What would you say is your philosophy of life?
Well, my fundamental philosophy of life is based on what I call the power of the 5 L's, okay? Listen, learn, lead, and love. And the last one is to leave a legacy. We all come to school. First, you have to listen. It builds a foundation to actually learn. Now, once you go from learning, you have to go to leading. You have to first lead yourself, and then you lead others. The next thing, you have to love. Okay, you have to love what you do. You have to love who you are. You have to love your family. And then you love yourself. And it all comes back. Love your community. Then lastly, we leave a legacy. I have children. I have a community that I love, people that's been a part of my life. So ultimately, it's all about living and leaving a legacy.
Now, you've had some ups and downs in your life.
Absolutely.
Let's start with the up. If you had to, the most important thing that you've accomplished in your life,
Wow.
what would that be?
Wow. It's interesting. I felt when I made the decision to go to college, it changed my trajectory of life. It changed the way I viewed things, changed the way I work with people. I call it 4 for 40. You make a decision when you're 17 years old, and then it affects your life later on. So I believe that was the most important part, of an actual decision that I made. My family's important. My faith is tremendously important to me. And all those components together, made me, the man that I am.
Now, the toughest thing, the lowest point that you've ever had in your life. Tell us about that.
Well, the lowest part was when, maybe like 10, 12 years ago, jobs were changing, had a situation where I had a pretty good profession and things just changed for me. And what I mean by change is, they took away the different positions, the company downsized, and then, I'm a University of Notre Dame grad. It was tough for me because I had a family and, I didn't have my job, and it was tough, I tried to file for unemployment. They say you have too much education for it, so I couldn't do it. That couldn't happen. I interviewed constantly and nothing happened. But I just kept my faith. I stayed focused on what's important to me, which was my faith and my family, and I just stayed strong. And I always said, hey, you have to make sure that you can continue to inspire yourself, sort of like David did, and you have to go ahead and say to yourself, what do you want your life to become? Because there are people not only counting on you, but you don't want to let yourself down either.
Now, you may be talking to a young person who has gone through something very difficult and they're at their lowest point. Mm-hmm. You being an elder advisor, what would you tell this young person who has faced adversity and are flat on their back? What would you tell them would be the next step?
I would say listen. Listen to people that love you. I would say pray. If you don't have a relationship with God, find a way to have one, either through a mentor, either through a friend. I would also say continue to believe in yourself and work hard no matter what. And it's difficult. We all been there. But I know that you can stay inspired to do that. That's why I just kept driving, I kept moving, I kept going forward. I'm a prime example of, somebody been up, somebody been down, but it's really not where you start. It's not. It's where you're going and it's where you end up. It's where you finish.
Writing a book is like writing a doctoral thesis. What was the most difficult, in that journey, what was the most difficult part of writing this book?
The most difficult part in writing the book is trusting yourself all the way through. Because at first you're excited because you said, I'm going to approach this goal. Then it comes apart when you get sort of like in the middle of the book, you go, okay, is this really going to be able to be, can I finish it, And then at the end, you start to question yourself, like, is it exactly what I want it to be? Will this touch the people that I want it to touch? But from our greatest pain or fear comes our greatest victory. Because my mom said, baby, just finish the book and it'll help people. So I finished the book, and so I'm happy about that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your past here.
Okay.
Let's talk about Long Beach Poly High School
Okay.
and your experience there. Then we're going to talk about Notre Dame. Tell us, What is it about this school that's nationally known that you have grasped, Long Beach Poly High School?
Well, Poly is known for, the home of scholars and champions, but what I really believe from Poly is when you actually walk through the front gate off Atlantic, it says, learn, go forth to serve. So at the end of the day, it's all about being a champion, living like a champion, but embracing the true mission. That's to learn. I feel that I've continued to learn. I still learn. I learn from my children. I learn from people that I work with. I learn from my mistakes. I learn from my failures. But then now I'm going forth to serve. Like, this is a tremendous way for me to give back to the education community, give back to, young people, to mentor and be a part of what I believe will be, it'll change people's lives when they touch this book.
You went to one of the top universities of this country, University of Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that experience.
Well, I think it's easier to get a scholarship, Errol, than actually, getting it. Once you get the scholarship, that's when everything begins. I said everything gets more serious. Practice schedules, time management, priorities, focus, being away from home. Those are challenges that I had to deal with. My mom, always told me just to make sure I stayed focused on my dreams, to pray and work hard. So I remember those things when I was in school. Very difficult at times being away from home. I was 17 years old, but Notre Dame, tremendous experience. I have relationships with people right now. My education has given me a tremendous amount of, not only respect, but opportunities. But, you work hard. I was the essence of the student athlete. You had to study. You had to be committed to what you wanted to do, because I learned that there were standards. There's standards, and then there's a standard of excellence, then there's a standard of supreme excellence. So I understand those steps. It's just like practice, right? We practice at a certain level for a scrimmage, then a game, then a playoff game, then the championship. So my high school experience helped me with that. It helped me understanding, going to college, it was going to be, a challenge, but a tremendous experience.
One question before we go back to the book.
Mm-hmm.
How did football bring this all together? Now, football is what you did, that's not define you, but you use this football analogy. Mm-hmm. How the role that football played in your success in what you're doing with the book, how did that, explain that to us?
Well, it really has a lot to do with, understanding how to train, how to be consistent, how to be committed, even when things are hard. It's doing the right thing when no one is looking. It's training, it's listening to your coaches. It's understanding your mistakes. It's understanding you're going to make mistakes, but learning from those mistakes. I played the position of wide receiver, so I call it a calculated risk position, because you can go out and you may not ever get hit in a game. You catch the ball, go. But in some cases you do have to face that adversity with someone a little bit bigger, a little bit smarter, a little bit stronger. So I took those experiences that I learned from football, hard work, persistence, dedication, focus, learning from failures, and I applied it to my life, and I applied it to writing this book. And how it helped me write the book, it helped me go through the perseverance, it helped me go through the hard times, writing 4 or 5 hours a day, going to sleep and waking up and having a thought and writing it down and, writing it, 10 times. I had 10 different times that I did it, and I wrote it and I thought it was right, it wasn't right, and I rewrote it again. And that just taught me. That taught me when I'm from football, it was like you got to do it right until you become excellent, supremely excellent. Don't settle for just being good. That's one of the greatest things that I learned when I was at Poly. Poly was all about being a champion. It was all about, being a champion on and off the field, representing more than just you, representing the community, representing your family, representing the legacy that it had. So I took those components and I said, okay, let's apply them to the dream. Always wanted to write a book. And I said, man, this is the time to do it. And that's how it carried over to me, not only writing the book, finishing the book, And now the goal is for me to go out and let people not only know about the book, but how it can change their lives.
Now, what seems a little selfish to me, you talk about teamwork and stuff, but you said I. I seems to be selfish. The power of I, that theme, that concept. It seems an oxymoron. Tell us why you use the power of I to theme this book.
Well, I wrote the power of I, one, to grab attention, because this world is so individual that some people only relate to I. So I did a play on words. I did a play on phrases. I talked to different people, and then I said, you know what? It's not about I, but it's about to grab the people's attention. I grabbed the people's attention and I explained what inspiration is. Every good and perfect word, it comes from God. We inspired by what we do and how we act and how we present ourselves, what we look like, what we talk like, who we're around. That inspiration needs to come from somewhere. And sometimes it comes from music, sometimes it comes from people, sometimes it comes from scripture. It's just a matter of what is relatable for you. And I just felt like putting the power, because there's so much power in inspiration and in hope. People can move mountains if they just decided. People can change, the world if they decided. I'm just being bold enough and courageous enough and to be excellent enough to go out there and tell my story.
What do you love about helping young people?
The smile on their faces. Just to smile, because when you connect, the smile is the connection. And then when you have them come back 10, 20 years from now and they say, Coach Reg, thank you. They just say thank you. And that's all you need as a person, as a man, as a mentor. And when you see that young person turn his life into something that you knew he could become, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
How would you describe your childhood?
You know what? It was a wonderful balance of challenges, love, prayer, hard work. My mom and dad, it didn't work out for them. They were high school sweethearts when they were young. And I spent, my mom said, you could spend every summer with your dad. And, my dad taught me how to work. He taught me how to get up. He taught me how to not only work hard, but understand why you were working hard. He said you have to be disciplined and no one will give you anything. So then, every weekend, we had to go there. It was 6 to 6 every day. And this is when I was young. So sometimes you don't always understand that. But I understand him now and I love him for it.
Let's talk about fatherhood.
Okay.
Fatherhood is very, very important. Talk to us about the meaning of fatherhood.
Well, it's amazing when you have the opportunity to instill the proper values in your children, especially young men, to be the best example you can be. Not a perfect example, but the best one you can be. To show them the importance of values, show them the importance of faith, show them the importance of hard work, setting goals and working hard. I'll continue to say work hard because nothing will be given to you. It's to really appreciate the opportunity to love them, to show them that it's okay to be emotional, but also understand them. You have to have emotional intelligence. You have to balance yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. And then, you have to trust all that and you have to let them go. So I have 2 adult men now, 29 and 22, 18 and 13. So, got a granddaughter too, so it's a blessing. I call it beautiful work.
Let's talk about marriage. Committing yourself to one woman in marriage.
Absolutely.
Talk about marriage to these young people.
It's having a partner. It's being able to be open, to be honest, to share, to communicate, to love, to embrace, but to really respect. Respect, the lady that you choose, respect the young man that you choose, respect their dreams, listen to them. I was at a wedding one time. I sat down in front of this couple. They've been married 55 years. And I asked them, I said, what's the secret? What's the secret? And they said, one said, be willing to listen. And the other one said, be willing to forgive. So I remember that.
Who's your favorite gospel singer?
C.C. Winan.
Why?
Oh man, she sings like an angel. Um, she's honest, she's pure, she's joyful, always hopeful. Sometimes the songs are fast, sometimes they're slow, but tremendous. She has a song that's called Pray, and it's fantastic. Gina loves it. That's my sister, Regina.
Your favorite singer and your favorite athlete.
Okay, like my favorite singer is actually Mary J. Blige. I just think that she speaks from the heart. She speaks from experience, and she speaks from a very, soulful part, of her life all the time. Just as far as, my favorite song, did you say?
Yes, and no, your favorite your athlete.
Favorite athlete. Well, my favorite athlete, twofold. My favorite athlete is Kobe Bryant because he loves to work, okay? And I respect anyone who loves to work and commits to their craft. And then the other athlete that I just grew up loving was Barry Sanders, because I loved the way that he could move. I loved the way he was always professional. He always act like I belong in the end zone by just handing the ball to the actual, umpire.
Favorite actor?
Denzel Washington, fantastic. I saw him in Training Day, and I was like, man, unbelievable. Completely different than I ever seen him before, but I saw his range, I see his commitment, I see the longevity he has, and I see the respect that he has in, in the community, as well as the acting community.
Favorite teacher, either college or high school?
My favorite teacher it was when I was in the 3rd grade. Her name was Miss Pinkham. I had her at First Lutheran School, and it was tremendous. She was loving, she was kind, and she was tough. And then, when I was in college, it was actually a nun. Her name was Sister Mary. And, when it got hard, because sometime during football season, I got a little tired, and I would actually nod off or fall asleep sometime, and she would tap me. She'd be like, Reginald, okay, let's stand up because we got to pay attention. So I appreciate her, understanding, but still holding me to the proper standard.
What about your favorite coach?
Wow, it's a lot of them, a lot of favorite coaches, but I got to say my favorite coach is Don Norford. Man, I mean, anybody who's been to Poly knows who Don Norford is. And he would always give you, sound advice. He would always, speak to you in the proper tone. He would always let you know the expectations, but you're going to work.
Favorite time of day?
My favorite time of day is actually in the morning before everything gets started. I like to get up in the morning, have some quiet time, read my scripture of the day, line up the things that I need to do. It's quiet, I go and check on everybody. But yeah, in the morning, when I say the morning, between 4 and 6 o'clock, I like to get up during that time.
Your favorite scripture in the Bible?
Grandmother gave it to me. It's Romans 8:28. It talks about purpose. For all things work together for good, for those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. Now, as I've gotten older, I really like Joshua 1:9. It talks about being bold and being courageous, because I believe that's what we have to do now.
If there's one thing that you want us to take away from this book, what is it?
That one thing would be to know that you're designed for a purpose. Each and every one of us has a unique gift and a unique talent. So I want this book to remind those of that. I want them to remind educators and businesses and young people, just a reminder that you can be inspired to remember that you have gifts, you have talents that are valuable. Be bold, be excellent, and be courageous.
Last question. Talk to your mother right now. She's probably listening. Tell her about the book and about the love you have for her.
Well, Mom is so very special to me. There was a very challenging time during the last, year or so. I started finishing the book. Mom got sick, and she said, "Baby, just finish the book." because it can help people. So I remember she telling us, how to be kind, how to love yourself, how to love other people, and how to share. So what I tell my mom is, Mom, we moving forward. I love you, and we're going to continue to change lives.
Thank you very much, Reggie
All right.
Ward.
Thank you.
Available at Christian bookstores and online. Purchase it today.